In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys the best enchantments for 1.18. This is the Kingdom Cliffs update part 2, and many things have actually changed. There are taller mountains and deeper caves, and that is what the main focus of the enchantments are about. All of these are made for the 1.18 update, but can be used for any. So let's get into it, starting off with the armor. Quick note, when you see 6 books or more, you're actually gonna have to watch my video where I explain how to actually bypass the too expensive problem that happens with anvils. But obviously I use boots as an example in that video. But when you're combining books, and this will make sense in the video, remember to do the last enchantments first. Like Respiration and Thorns, you would want to combine those together and then combine it with the helmet. But let's get back to the enchantment. For the boots, you're gonna need these for everything to the deep caves or the highest cliffs, because boots has special properties. Starting off with mending, the second most used enchantment because it helps heal items over time. Then unbreaking, which helps it not break. But moving on to the more important things, protection will actually protect you. But Depth Strider will actually help you traverse since most of them are flooded with water. So you're going to want to be making your way fast through the caves, so you're going to need Depth Strider for that. Now moving on to the second thing that will help you at the highest heights is Feather Falling. Feather Falling will obviously save you from falling all the way down a mountain. I guarantee it will save you a ton of time, especially if you're making a mountain tall house. And lastly, Soul Speed. And Soul Speed will help you in the nether going through Soul Soil or Soul Sand very fast. And then optionally, there is Thorns. Now, I wouldn't personally recommend using Thorns, but if you would like to use Thorns, you can. Now I'm going to show you an example of Feather Falling and Depth Strider working. First is Feather Falling. Now this test is without Feather Falling. As you can see, I'm going to fall onto snow just like so. And I took 1.5 hearts. Now this is with full protection, which helps a lot. So I'm gonna land in this exact spot right now with Feather Falling. So I just go up here, put on the Feather Falling boots, and then I go in survival. Then I just simply jump off, just like so, and as you can see, I only took 1 heart. Now this obviously helps you at higher heights, and obviously it helps you with lower armor. So if you don't have full netherite with all protection, it will help you a lot more. As you can see, if I take off everything but the Feather Falling, it will actually still save me if I jump down here, or even down here. As you can see, barely any damage, even though I jumped from that high, which would normally kill me. And going over here, as you can see, this is without Depth Strider, it is very slow, and I am swimming. But if I actually do put on Depth Strider, I am a lot faster while swimming. So this is very useful to have in the very few seconds that you may have underwater, since you would need to take a breath or place down a door. Now moving on is the Leggings and the Chestplate. Now this is obviously more generic, it just has mending, unbreaking, and protection. Nothing else, but you can obviously add thorns if you want. Now these are pretty good, and they just don't need any explanation at all. Now going on to the helmet. Now I have the netherite and the turtle shell helmet, which I would actually recommend having both if you're really going to want to cave explore. So when I'm going through the netherite helmet, they have the same enchantments. But obviously I would recommend having both, because the turtle shell actually gives you 10 seconds of water breathing. Now that is very helpful because that's 10 extra seconds exploring water caves. And obviously, Aqua Affinity and Respiration will help you in the water a lot more. So I'm going to show you guys a speed up test from when I hit the water to how much seconds I actually have, comparing the turtle shell to the netherite. First, the turtle shell. And that was with the turtle helmet. And to actually get water breathing again, you have to be out of the water. So just touch air and it'll give you the effect again. So placing down a door will do the exact same thing. Now for the netherite helmet. And as you can see, the turtle helmet was a lot better. The times are up on screen right now, so you can see the big difference there. Now obviously, Aqua Affinity and Respiration is actually a big part in why this took so long. But obviously, I would recommend a turtle helmet if you really want to explore caves, since some of them are now underwater. Now we're moving on to the golden boots, which you will have in the nether. Now I chose the boots since they are the least amount of armor points that you will actually be taking away from your netherite set. But this actually has one main difference to the normal boot enchantments, and that is the fact that it does not have Depth Strider on here. And that is obviously because there is no water in the nether, hence no point to actually put Depth Strider in it. So you can save yourself one enchantment book and it won't even matter. But obviously I would recommend having any gold piece of item, preferably boots, just for the nether, since piglins will get mad at you, especially if you want to trade. But now moving on to the other set of boots, which is the leather ones. Now these you will only be using for getting over powdered snow or warming yourself up in powdered snow. And as you can see, they only have mending and unbreaking on them, since you really don't need any enchantments on this, and this is only for secret passageways or anything that you would like to do in powdered snow within your base, or just putting them on while exploring the mountains. But obviously, this is you put on while you're wearing these boots. You're not going to be permanently wearing these in the mountains, and that is why I don't have the other enchantments on here. But those enchantments are obviously optional. Now I can actually showcase to you what this does, since there is powdered snow that naturally generated right over here. So if I go in game mode survival, I can actually put on these boots and walk on top of powdered snow and get the light as a rabbit achievement. But if I take them off, I'll actually fall through it. Now some create these death traps where you actually can't get out and you fall into a pit. Now for these occasions, you can put it on, and as you can see, you will warm up. And you can just jump your way out of this. As you can see, we can just slide right up through like it is water. And you actually will not freeze since you have a piece of leather clothing on. They are just pretty useful, but obviously they don't need any enchantments. I just put mending and unbreaking on there just in case you get hurt while in them. And the next one is the Elytra. Now the Elytra only has mending and unbreaking since those are the only ones that it can actually use. But obviously you're gonna need this to traverse around your world since the mountains are very high. So make sure to bring a bunch of rockets, and this unbreaking and mending will actually save your Elytra from just breaking off in mid-air. But now moving on to the sword and the axe. Now these are your main fighting weapons, and I would actually recommend that you have them both. But obviously, depending on what PvP you're actually trying to do. The sword will be faster and the axe will be slower but do more damage. Now these both have mending, unbreaking, and sharpness on them. But the sword can actually have looting and fire aspects. And then optionally for the sword, there is sweeping edge and knockback too. But I think that you should actually not have them in your preferable swords. Now first, the reason that you don't want knockback is because you actually want the enemy close to you so you can keep on hitting it with your sword, as you're doing close range and you don't want it farther from you. And secondly, sweeping edge, you might accidentally hit a pet or something else like a friend of yours, so you wouldn't just accidentally want to hit your axolotl or your wolf. But now moving on to the axe, and its final enchantment is efficiency, just for chopping down trees or anything of the sort that the axe would need to chop down, as it can be used for a tool and a weapon. Now moving on to the crossbow and the bow. Now the crossbow and the bow have different enchantments. One is mending for the crossbow, then unbreaking. Then it has quick charge and multi-shot. I actually didn't do piercing because it's very rare that mobs will actually line up in a row for you to actually be able to use piercing. So I think multi-shot is better, especially while using custom rockets, which actually will do a lot more damage in a surrounding area since these explode. And this obviously has quick charge so you can quickly charge it up. And the bow has infinity instead of mending, just because those two cannot pair. So you have Infinity, Unbreaking, Punch 2, Power 5, and Flame. And these are all pretty good ones. And the arrow of choice is Slowness, since harming actually heals some mobs, so you wouldn't actually want that unless you're PvPing up against a friend or someone else. But obviously, these are the arrows of choice, but remember that these don't work with infinity, so always have one regular arrow on you at all times. But these are very useful against mobs, especially it'll be useful against the Warden if you want to actually slow it down. So let me show you guys an example of the firework rockets though, since these are very useful to have when in battle against mobs or anyone else. So here is a bunch of zombies, and as you can see, if I load it up, it will only cost 1 rocket for me to shoot 3. So multi-shot is very useful, and it will kill a whole bunch of them since it does AoE damage, which is just a big attack to multiple things, since this actually explodes. And if you have the right armor, you'll actually be perfectly safe, and these will barely hurt you. But it will do big amounts of damage to all the zombies or mobs nearby. Now moving on to the shield and the trident. Now the shield will have the mending and unbreaking, which is the best things for a shield, and the trident will have mending, unbreaking, riptide, and impaling. Now I actually chose riptide instead of actually loyalty, because riptide is much better for traversing through the new cave, whilst the loyalty can be replaced by a good bow, since the bow will do a lot more damage and it will do it a lot quicker. But obviously you can have 2 tridents if you want. I would just recommend a riptide and impaling a lot more. So impaling will do a lot more damage to underwater mobs, and riptide will help you go super fast underwater. So it is very useful, especially for these new caves. As you can see, if I go all the way down to this cave that is underwater, I can easily traverse through it using a trident, just like so. Now this will help me save time since you have limited breathing and you want to explore as much as you can, especially when you're lower and you can find diamonds using this. Riptide can also help you within the rain. You can actually move across, or in water you can just launch yourself up into the air and use your Elytra and glide. But now we're moving on to the tools, which is the Netherite Pickaxe, the shovel, and the hoe. Now these all will have mending, unbreaking, and efficiency. But the pickaxe, you're actually going to want to have 2 of them, 1 for fortune and 1 for silk touch. Now this is obviously very important because fortune will give you a ton more of the ores that you already have, and with the new update, iron and gold can actually be fortune, so this is very important to have. But I also think silk touch is as important as fortune because it actually gives you the block in its untouched state, which is very useful for some things. So I would recommend that you have silk touch as well, but prioritize fortune as much as you can since it is very important in 1.18. But that's actually the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.